So wherever you are right now, I just want you to clear your mind for a second, block out the noise, and really genuinely think about this. If you somehow found out, right this very second, that you absolutely were not going to wake up tomorrow morning, what would you do with your remaining hours? I mean it. Most people, when you ask them this, have one of two reactions. Option one, they completely panic. They cry, they stress, they absolutely freak out over all the things they didn't get to do. But option two, the right option, is that you spend your final hours doing something so deeply fulfilling, so incredibly true to who you actually are, that you can go to bed tonight and just sleep peacefully. No regrets. That level of absolute peace and unshakable conviction, that is exactly what we're building today. And to understand how we actually get there, I need to share a story with you that literally blew my mind when I first heard it.
Okay, so picture this. You've got two young kids, a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, just playing out near an abandoned farm out in the country. They're best friends, always goofing around together, but while they're exploring, the older boy, the 10-year-old, slips. He falls deep into an old, dry well. He's panicking, he's screaming, he absolutely cannot get out. The 6-year-old is looking around frantically. There's literally nobody for miles, no adults, no phones, no help coming. The only thing he sees is an old, beat-up bucket attached to a thick rope. Without even hesitating, he throws the bucket down into the dark and yells at his friend to grab hold. And then, this tiny, little 6-year-old kid pulls with every single ounce of strength in his body. He just pulls and pulls. His hands are burning, his muscles are aching, he's exhausted, until miraculously, he drags his much heavier 10-year-old friend all the way up to the surface into safety. Now here's the crazy part. When they finally get back to town and tell everyone what happened, the whole town completely refuses to believe them. They're like, that's physically impossible. You literally do not have the muscle mass to lift a kid twice your size. But the oldest, wisest man in town, he just listens, laughs a little and says, the boy is telling the truth. And when the confused townspeople ask him how on earth that was possible, the wise man said something unforgettable.
Let that sink in for a second. This brilliantly illustrates the entire foundation of an unstoppable mindset. There was no adult standing there to say, hey kid, you're too small. There was no fitness expert there to calculate the physics and tell him, actually the leverage is impossible. And most importantly, because no one was there to inject all that toxic doubt into his head, his own inner voice never told him he couldn't do it either. He didn't even know it was supposed to be impossible. He succeeded simply because he lacked both external and internal doubt.
If you are ready to smash through those exact same walls of doubt in your own life and become truly unstoppable, do me a huge favor and take a quick second right now to like this, share it with a friend who really needs to hear this message today, and subscribe to MindForge Labs. We are actively building a community of people who completely refuse to settle for average. All right, let's break down exactly what those two walls are, starting with the one that usually hits closest to home.
Let's move right into wall one, which is the naysayers.
We all know these people. These are the voices of your relatives, your friends, and all those cynics out there telling you your ideas are just a pipe dream. You know the feeling. You get super fired up about a new business idea, a totally new creative path, maybe a massive life change. And before you even take step number one, 4 people immediately jump in to tell you exactly why it's a terrible idea. They tell you to be quote-unquote realistic. And the hardest part? You can't just ignore them because these aren't random trolls on the internet. These are the people you eat Thanksgiving dinner with. So how do you handle them? Well, you don't argue. You don't try to passionately defend your dreams or show them a PowerPoint presentation of your goals. You simply use the ultimate weapon. You ask why. When someone tells you that you can't do something, just look them dead in the eye, stay totally calm and ask why. What you'll find is honestly hilarious. 90% of people will have absolutely no logical answer. They'll stumble, they'll backtrack, and you'll realize they are just projecting their own insecurities and fears right onto you.
Let me give you a perfect example of this from the source material we're looking at today. There was this young guy starting out a career in photography. Out of nowhere, his aunt comes up to him at a family party and says, "You really need to quit this whole photography thing. It's useless. Go get a real job." So he uses the weapon. He calmly asks, "Why, Aunt Susan? Why do you think I'll fail?" She says, "Because your cousin moved out to Los Angeles to do photography and he's been struggling for 4 years." The guy just smiles and asks, "Okay, but why does his failure mean that I am going to fail?" The aunt gets totally flustered, visibly frustrated, and actually yells, "Because your cousin had a 4.0 GPA in high school and you only had a 3.2. I mean, think about how insanely absurd that is. As if your sophomore year chemistry grade has literally anything to do with your creative success behind a camera in the real world. When you simply ask why, you completely expose how ridiculous external judgment really is. You realize you don't need to listen to them for a second. But what happens when that doubt isn't coming from Aunt Susan, but it's coming from you?
And that brings us directly to wall 2, your own voice.
This wall is so much larger and so much thicker than the first one. This is our own self-doubt. It's that crippling imposter syndrome and our endless, exhausting tendency to make excuses for why we aren't where we want to be in life. We love to blame the economy, we blame the algorithm, we blame our terrible boss, completely ignoring the one common denominator in all our problems: us. There's this famous story of a corporate office where morale was just rock bottom. Everyone was constantly complaining that they couldn't get promoted or succeed because of the toxic company culture. So one morning, all the employees arrive at work to find a memo on their desks. It says, "The person who has been hindering your growth and holding you back in this company has passed away. Please go to the conference room to pay your respects." Everyone feels this weird mix of shock and honestly secret relief. They line up, walk up to the open coffin, and look inside. But there's no body in the coffin. There's only a mirror. Every single person who looked inside just saw their own reflection staring back at them. We are our own biggest obstacles. Period.
So the really crucial question here is, how do we become our own worst enemy in the first place? Well, it happens because we lose our curiosity. Imagine a sudden, massive downpour in a busy city. Everyone sprints under an awning to take cover. There's this grumpy guy in a suit, furiously blowing on a soggy $10 bill, complaining about the terrible traffic, his ruined leather shoes, and how his entire day is just a disaster. Right next to him is a little 5-year-old girl. She's reaching her hands out from under the awning, catching the raindrops, drinking them, laughing, and joyfully asking her dad, "Why does it rain? Why doesn't it rain every single day?" The adult is totally miserable because he only sees problems. The child is joyful because she is constantly asking why and looking for understanding. Somewhere along the line in our lives, we just stop asking why about our own circumstances, and we just quietly accept the misery.
And this perfectly illustrates the massive difference between real belief and blind belief. Successful people ask why to build real, unshakable belief. Think of it like this. If someone gets a terrible fever, blind belief is throwing random internet remedies at them. Drink this weird herbal tea, put an onion in your sock, put ice on your head, and just crossing your fingers hoping it magically works. Real belief is going to a medical doctor who actually asks, why is this fever happening, runs a blood test, discovers a bacterial infection, and prescribes the exact antibiotic needed to fix the root cause. Real belief is completely grounded in reality. Blind belief is just wishing, hoping, and coping. And the crazy thing is, in modern hustle culture, blind belief has a very trendy, very popular name.
Yep, that trendy name is the law of attraction myth. And frankly, it's a fake shortcut. Let's just go ahead and dismantle this fake success culture right now. You have absolutely seen the videos online. People proudly claiming that the universe is basically like a giant cosmic vending machine. Just visualize what you want, feel the high-frequency vibes, draw up a cute vision board, and boom, the universe will literally hand you a mansion and a sports car. It sounds like magic, right? Because it's a product designed to sell you an easy, painless shortcut. Let's use the most common, honestly hilarious example. These gurus love to use manifesting a parking spot. Someone claims, "Oh, I just envision a front row spot at the crowded mall on a busy Saturday, and the universe just gives it to me." Look, in a parking lot with 100 spots, if you drive around in circles long enough, there is a statistical 1% chance someone will pull out just as you drive up. It is not magic. It is literally just the law of probability. If you try to, quote-unquote, manifest a spot 100 times, you'll fail 99 times and succeed once. But of course, you'll credit the universe for that one success. People cling to this stuff so tightly because they desperately want the reward without putting in the grueling, boring, unsexy work.
Imagine a teenager who spends hours every single day trying to manifest a luxury BMW. He prints out glossy photos, tapes them to his bedroom wall, and just obsesses over this car. Well, what happens if he actually gets it? I'll tell you. He immediately becomes paralyzed by the fear of losing it. He worries about some cart hitting it in the grocery store lot. He stresses over the insane insurance premiums. And within a month, the dopamine high wears off entirely. And he starts obsessing over manifesting a bigger house or a Rolex. He is living his life exactly like a racing greyhound chasing a mechanical rabbit around a dirt track. He's running endlessly, he is completely exhausted, and he will never, ever feel truly satisfied. So how do we fix this? It leads us directly to finding your true inner purpose. Let's contrast that first teenager with the second one. This kid uses our ultimate weapon from earlier, asking why. Now, this second teenager also thinks he wants a BMW, but instead of cutting out pictures for a vision board, he sits down to dig deep. Let's walk through his actual thought process. Step 1, he asks, why do I actually want a BMW? Answer, to look successful.
Step 2. Okay, why do I need to look successful? Answer, to prove myself to my friends and my family. Step 3. Well, why do I care so much about proving myself to them? Answer, because society tells me that material wealth equals human worth. Step 4. Why? Because everyone else is blindly running in the exact same miserable rat race. Boom. The moment this teenager actually realizes he's only chasing the car because everyone else is chasing the car, the entire illusion shatters. He drops out of the fake race immediately, and he starts looking for a purpose that actually matters to him.
And for one young man, he found that purpose through a genuinely heartbreaking real-life experience. Years ago, he was on a road trip with his father. They were miles away from anywhere, just driving through these really small, isolated rural towns in America. They stopped at a little roadside diner to grab a bite, and suddenly his dad collapsed. It was a massive heart attack. They rushed him to the local small-town clinic, but the clinic just wasn't equipped for it. The doctors there looked at him and said, "We can't help him here. You need a major hospital, but the closest one is over 3 hours away in the city." And tragically, by the time they got there, his father had passed away. Working through his intense grief, the young man kept screaming one question: why? Why are the big, life-saving hospitals only in the cities? Why do rural towns just get left behind? And that single, incredibly powerful why completely changed his entire destiny. He didn't care about a BMW anymore. He studied 12 hours a day, he pushed through medical school, he became a top-tier heart surgeon, and eventually, he opened a world-class clinic right smack in the middle of a rural town.
And this brings us to the ultimate, mind-blowing realization of this entire explainer. Fake success is being willing to do any terrible soul-sucking work just to get the thing. The car, the fancy title, the big paycheck. But true success? True success is being willing to lose absolutely anything. The money, the comfort, the social status, just to have the absolute privilege of doing the meaningful work. That heart surgeon is completely fulfilled because his happiness isn't parked in a garage somewhere just waiting to get scratched by a shopping cart. His happiness is the work itself, saving lives. He literally can't lose it.
Because at the end of the day, true success is fearlessness. Think about it. When you finally stop listening to Aunt Susan and the naysayers, when you stop doubting your own abilities, and when you finally stop chasing those fake, superficial goals, you completely strip away all the fear. You become exactly like that 6-year-old boy at the well. Completely focused, entirely unbothered by what anyone else thinks is possible, and possessing a strength you didn't even know you had. So I have to ask you, what is stopping you from breaking your walls today? Thank you so much for joining me. If this shifted your perspective even a little bit today, please hit that like button, share this with someone who really needs a wake-up call right now, and make sure you subscribe to MindForge Labs so we can keep building that unstoppable mindset together. Get out there, start asking why, and I'll see you next time.